Great. So good morning. We're joined this afternoon by Hernan, who's going to talk to us about productizing, people operations, and HR. Go ahead and hand it over to you.
Right. Thank you, Melissa. So the topic of today is people operations as a product, and this is an approach that comes especially from companies that are in high growth mode, particularly many companies in the software industries, like startups in the software industry, that they are not satisfied by the way HR operates as by default, right? So they are looking at ways to transform the way that the organizations manage talent. So first, let me get. Can you see that? Oh, maybe.
You can see it. It's not.
Okay, there we go. So a little bit about me. My name is Hernan Chiosso. I'm a former VP of HR, VP of Global Talent at a software development company. I have kind of like an unusual career path in that I started my career as a developer, which means that I'm probably a little bit more focused on the technical side of things of HR than the average HR professional. I provide consulting services as a fractional CHRO, HR innovation consultant, HR tech advisor, and I've been doing a lot of training on AI for HR, design thinking for HR, and some on productization. I have my Substack that is called Substack newsletter called productizehr.substack.com, where I talk about these topics: HR and AI, HR and product management, HR and technology, in HR and agility. So, productizing HR, it's about treating your HR practices as products, which means that you're going to be developing them in an efficient and agile way, trying to focus very, very tightly on the employee experience so that you can get a competitive edge in the talent market. Essentially, this also stems from the fact that employees have a choice, and they are opting in to you as an employer, and they are like users in that sense. You need to attract them, you need to convert them, you need to measure the value that is created for them and that they create for you, and you need to manage the attrition or churn, and all of that empowers your employees to make the choice, to make that conscious choice of becoming your employer. You cannot just assume that they're going to be there forever. So some concept of why it's important to productize HR. Some people say that HR is it can be a stagnant practice, that is not innovative. I say that it's innovative, but it's not doing so intentionally, because we are fighting fires all the time, and that leads us to be burnt out. So how can we look at some other practices that are more proactively innovative? And one example of that is like the paramount example of that would be product management, where products need to innovate constantly to stay relevant. So this led me to explore some of the similarities with product management, and led me to compare things like client funnel versus employee funnel, and what are the things that are similar, and how you attract and convert your leads, which are candidates, into clients, which are your employees. And this concept that employment is kind of like a subscription that your employees are subscribers of your product, and they can renew or cancel that subscription by choosing to stay with you another month or to leave. Some of the benefits that you can get from productization is, since you have a higher focus on what the employee experience is going to be, you get more engagement, and you have better support for the unique path that each employee has. You can also create some self-service capabilities so that employees can do more of what they need. And you are building in some methods to capture employee feedback. Another concept, another aspect of productization is the focus on agility. It's not that you're building one thing and done. It's a continuous building of an iteration and improvement of your products. That requires to have good alignment with the business, understanding how your products contribute to the OKRs that you have as a department, and how those contribute to the company goals. That requires innovation, requires that you are thinking of ways of making things better, and you're doing experiments. That these experiments are also done in collaboration with other parts of the organization. The delivery is iterative, so that means that you are constantly delivering new versions of your product. So you can consider that today's version of your employee benefits is version 1.0, and when you plan and introduce other change, it's going to be 1.1, or maybe you're introducing enough changes that it's going to be 2.0. And you are learning in each iteration. Next, you can also, through that, you can get competitive advantage. You are better at attracting and retaining talent and developing talent. It gives you more workforce agility because you can respond more in a more agile way to the changes on the needs of your workforce, and can improve your operational excellence. Now, how to productize HR? It's about changing your mindset. You need to become the product manager of the employee experience. You need to own that. And that is your main product when you are productizing HR. The employee experience, the experience that they receive as being part of your organization. Here are some basic principles that I developed, looking at a lot of the existing material and developing some things of my own to define what are the core things that you need to do to productize your HR practices. The first one is about aligning HR and business. Like I said before, this has to do with understanding have a clear alignment between your OKRs as a practice and the OKRs of your organization, so that you can get the support that you need, and you can start presenting yourself as a value creation part of the organization and not just a cost center. Then the next principle is about understanding and delighting your users. This requires you to have these conversations and to have this insight into what your users need, your clients need. There's many techniques for that. User research, design thinking in particular, is extremely useful for this. So you can center your discovery phase of what you're going to build on what is the job to be done by your employees. What are the stakeholders that you have? What is the journey map? So you can use a lot of those techniques from design thinking, for example, and user research to understand and create experiences that delight your users and make them into advocates. Next, you need to, like we talk about the iterative approach, you need to deliver faster and deliver often. You cannot be engaged in this monolithic initiatives that take years to accomplish, and honestly, they never get done. And when they are done, it's too late, or things have changed already. Delivering faster and delivering often allows you to react more in a more agile way to what's changing in your environment. And we know that lots of things are changing. Some of the discussions that are today at the top of mind of HR leaders probably were not in our radar 5 years ago. The huge push towards the implementation of AI was not such a big pressing need. The huge discussion about remote work versus return to office, and that and even the climate of the market regarding hiring was completely different 5 years ago. If we don't deliver faster, we miss the opportunity of learning from our environment and delivering to the needs of that environment. The next one is about making important decisions more confidently using data. For this, you need to own your data as a department within the organization. And I always like to say that HR is one of the departments in the organization that generates most data, because you have employees that have interactions with you and your systems every day, many times a day. Every time that an employee requests time off, or it receives a performance appraisal, or gets a job offer, or goes through an offboarding experience, you have those events in the employee life cycle happening every day, and that generates a lot of data. If you can leverage that data, you're going to be able to make more decisions more confidently. Next is about growing your products over time, understanding that these products that you're creating, this employee experience, is not going to be the same forever, and it doesn't need to be today what it could be, but it needs to be intentional. It's okay if you are on the way to something, but you need to be on the way. You need to be moving towards that. And you need to have clarity about where you are going with this. The next is about augmenting yourself with technology. And this is about finding the right technology that suits your process and not that forces you to follow the process of the tool. You need to try to find a type of technology that helps you service your users in a way that delights them, and not just have them bend around the needs of your tool. We have been having many conversations in the HR tech community about tools that are designed that are user-centric, and tools that are just tool-centric, or process as design-centric. So you need to choose the right technology stack that satisfies your needs, and also that fits your budget, because we could blow our entire budget in all these cool and shiny tools that are out there. Next, you need to have a clear definition of your value proposition as an employer, and you need to have constant communication with your employees. This is a marketing task, right? You are at the same time that you are delivering, you are selling. You're constantly selling the value to your employees, so that you are reminding them of the value that you are creating. And of course, when you are trying to attract a candidate, it's easier and more top of mind to tell them about the great things about working for you as an employer, the great things, to talk about the great experience. But then you have to sustain that message. So you have to sustain that communication with your existing team. And this leads into the next one, which is to get your team on board and manage the change. Here, you need to make sure that you are installing whatever product that you're building you are installing that in your organization. You're not just sending an email and it's done, it's installed. No, it's an initiative that requires change management skills. And you need to innovate and experiment continuously so that you can get better. You can test new things. You can see there's a new tool, there's a new trend in the market, there's a new standard, there's a new requirement from your team. All of those things, you need to design experiments that allow you to find out what works and what doesn't. So where do we start with this? You first need to identify your core offerings. So strip them down to the basics. What are the things that you are doing for your employees? What is the thing that, for example, a pay time off policy does for your employees, right? It's not just meeting a requirement, which, by the way, it's the US is one of the only countries that has not a specific requirement on pay time off policies at least at a federal level. But you need to identify what are the core offerings that this satisfies, and make sure that you are designing your product based on that, not on all the fluff and all the extended verbiage of policies. What does these benefit, or what does this employee experience create for your employees? Bring it down to the basics. You need to understand the user needs. What do they need regarding that product? What are the pressing needs? And you cannot just guess. You need to talk to your users for that. Then you need to prioritize which one is more important and in which order are we going to be delivering them, so that we have a clear plan on where we should put our investment. And you need to establish the scalability, because you need to understand how this will continue to grow. Where will it go next? When you develop a product roadmap, you need to first plan, align with other stakeholders, to make sure that what you're going to be delivering is going to satisfy the needs of those stakeholders. You need to implement, and then you need to iterate and go back to planning, align, implement, iterate. So it's a loop where you are continuously refining your roadmap. You're going to be collaborating with people, technology, and your data by defining clear expectations. What are the expectations of the experience for yourself and for your users? You need to collaborate with others. You cannot do all of that on your own. If you are defining an experience around, for example, performance evaluation, of course you need to involve the managers on this, right? Because they're going to be feeding a lot of the information and delivering a lot of the information, and you need to make them your partners in this. You're going to be leveraging whatever HR technology that you have, and by HR technology I refer to the extended meaning of technology. It's not just tools that you buy and subscribe to. It's also the processes that you have. It's also the methodologies. Whenever you can, you need to also embrace automation. There's amazing tools today that allow you to make things happen in the natural flow of things and without having to distract yourself. From tools that do it all for yourself, or tools that basically, just to give you an example, you need to think when you are adding a new team member to your team and you're doing the onboarding, what are the things that always happen? What are the things that invariably need to happen? How can you automate those things? What are the things that you can say, okay, I got an employee, new employee joining the company today. Okay, what are the things that I can automate? For example, sending all the invites to the onboarding events on the first day, or maybe even better if you can do it earlier. If you can enable the mail account earlier, send it earlier so that the employee, before the first day, they already have a view of what their first week, their first month, their first quarter is going to look like as regards onboarding. There's amazing tools out there that allow you to do great things without the need to learn how to code. And especially because you have no code tools that connect to the APIs of the tools that you have and trigger actions based on time or based on events. So great opportunities there. And then you need to own your data. You need to make sure that that you understand the data that you have, and you need to make sure that the data is clean. Because one of the biggest problems for companies trying to leverage their data is that they find themselves with incomplete data that is scattered among different repositories, and then you cannot rely on that data, or the job of cleaning and aggregation that data continuously is exhausting and it's not worth the effort. So you decide to ignore the data. So to own it, you need to own the process of cleaning it and aggregating it. You need to measure and iterate what you're doing. You need to track the key metrics, identify what are the key metrics that you're aiming for, and track against those. You need to gather feedback continuously and need to, again, experiment, iterate, and refine. Like I said before, you need to launch it, not push it off the cliff. The product that you're installing in your organization needs a change management approach, and that means using the framework by Kotler, establish a sense of urgency, like define why it is important to launch this product right now. Forming a guiding coalition, so you have partners that help you push that initiative. Creating a vision, communicating the vision, empowering others to act on the vision, so making it easier for others to act on that. Create some short-term wins that show progress. Because if you are presenting this huge initiative that never gets done, you never get any sense of movement, people will lose interest and leave, and you will lose support. You need to consolidate the improvements and produce more change, and you need to institutionalize the new approaches. So what you have launched is now becoming part of your standard, and this is the official way of doing it, and everybody should do it. Try not to allow too many exceptions, or no, we keep doing it the old way because we like it better. No, if you're doing like that, you're failing in your product. You're failing at the stage of forming a guiding coalition, for example. Or you're failing at the stage of involving your users. Because if the new product doesn't satisfy the need like the old product, it means that their opinion was not taken into account. Some suggested reading. These are some great books that I've read in the past year or so for this approach of people operations as a product. Build for People is probably one of the key books for that. Jessica Swan is great. I'm in the middle of the program with her and Matt Broadburn on people operations as a product approach, learning a lot of great things in their masterclass, so highly recommended. Scaling People, another great book by Claire Hughes Johnson. She's one of their most, well, I think she worked for Google, but she also I think she wrote this when she was at Stripe. And the idea is, again, a high growth company that needed to scale their people practices as they continue to grow at a tremendous pace. People Operations by Jay Fulcher and Kevin Marasco and Tracy Coate. Also another great book about automating. And this is from you're gonna see that they are the authors of this book, they are working for a startup that they are very proud of, and they are like showcasing what they do at their startup. And then the final one is built by Tony Fadell. He's known as a godfather of iPod. So he was at Apple working with Steve Jobs on building very innovative products, in this case, physical products. But this book is a great recollection of that process with a lot of abstract concepts, but also concrete anecdotes of things that happened and things that he did, and learns and mistakes that he made, and lessons that he learned in building things that are worth making. So I think while this is not specifically HR oriented, it is very much product management oriented, and everybody can benefit from this. And that's my presentation. The idea was to introduce the concept and to give the audience some thoughts, some ideas to think about, and some resources, ideally. So
beautiful. That was definitely really informative. If you're up for it, I have a couple questions.
Sure.
So in the beginning, you talked a bit about how there's a lot of opportunities for implementing this product mindset and productization in the onboarding space. Your experience and the work you've done, where would you say there's other opportunities in kind of the employee life cycle that would be quick wins or generate those incremental efficiencies?
Well, I think that they are available all throughout the employee life cycle. Like if you start from the I like to call it attract phase, like before the hiring. So from the attract phase, how you are building your product as an employer, as a prospective employer for these candidates. You can use a lot of the techniques that companies use. I mean, if you look at the careers page of an organization and the landing page of a new product being launched, there's a lot of similarities there, because these two things, they follow the same function. They have the same function. That is to attract and convert the leads or the candidates. So you need to have the same principles of having your career page is, for example, a product you can launch. Same thing with your application process. You need to understand the pain points of your users, understanding, surveying users, talking to user, gathering feedback to understand where are they getting stuck, which parts of the experience of being an applicant for your company are causing them to think about if they really want to take the job. And from there, all through the life cycle of the employee, your compensation review experience could be a product. So how do you sell that? How do you launch something that delights user and that at the end of that process, users feel like, okay, I was treated fairly with my compensation. My contribution to this organization was valued and considered when doing the review. And of course, anything that has to do with benefits and things like that, they are productizable, right? I like to keep a look at the employee life cycle end to end and understand what are the experiences in here and what products we have around them. One tool that I really like for that, and it's the startup called PIN HQ, PYN HQ. They have this wonderful employee journey map builder that has some built-in events, but you can then customize to your own fit. They have a free version of that that provides the basic design, but then they have with a pro version you can integrate with your tools. So it's even if you're not thinking of that product as something that you want to implement in your organization, just the fact that you're able to visualize the employee life cycle in one place is something useful that makes you think, how can I make this into a product?
Awesome. It's great advice. In terms of change management, lots of people in the tech world and the HR world talk about change management under different lenses, techniques, methodologies. In your experience, anything that's been particularly useful or effective that you would recommend others take a look at?
I think that the main thing that I've had seen in my experience is to like I use the Kotler's framework for change management, but the main thing is to building that guiding coalition so that employees feel that what you are building, what the change that is going to be implemented, has their perspective baked in. That way, you're going to find less resistance, and hopefully you're gonna create more ownership. Because if you as an HR leader are the only one dragging your whole organization into a new change management initiative, you're gonna find a lot of resistance. But if you are able to build champions that feel that, yes, this is part of my idea, I got to contribute on this, they not only will accept them for themselves, but also become the champions for others, help you convince others, and help you push everybody into the right direction.
Awesome. Last one, you talked at one point a little bit about making sure you have metrics in place to actually understand what you're measuring and how you'll see success. Any thoughts there on specific metrics or an example you might share that others would benefit from?
Sure. That I have it fresh in my memory because we had a session of this masterclass today, and it was specifically about metrics. And so you have the typical operational metrics, right? That every HR leader is keeping an eye on. Things like headcount, attrition, and things like that. But then you have other types of metrics that are more input metrics. Like, for example, these are input metrics are things that are under your control. So you say, okay, this year we're gonna do 4 webinars on employee benefits. Right? You can say this is a goal that I'm measuring against. But then you need to have the output metric that tells you, okay, what's the impact that these webinars had in the team? Did it have an impact on employee satisfaction, for example? One very interesting metric that was discussed by Jesse this morning was related to employee lifetime value, and using the same a very similar approach that what you use to calculate client lifetime value to create an employee lifetime value, and compare that to the revenue the value that your organization is creating. So you have a cost of acquiring and keeping your employees. You have a cost of your HR organization, and you have a contribution that it does to the value that the organization creates. So how can you compare that and find a healthy ratio that works for you and your industry? And sometimes maybe it's hard to compare from across organizations, but at least it can help you to understand, am I going in the right direction? Am I increasing the value that the employees are creating? Some of the things that have an impact on that is, what is the headcount? How long, what's the tenure? What's the average tenure? What's the average salary? And things like that help you calculate the employee lifetime value. So I think this is one metric that I find very interesting, and it's a very I think Jessie is doing a great job in developing, developing it as she builds it. But I think it's a point in the right direction of going and trying to find more tangible ways to measure the value of your team, because in the end that will inform many of your decisions. Should I have more people? Should I have less people? Should I have more people in this location, more people in this other location? So it can lead you to some very insightful workforce, and it will also very insightful work for decisions, and will also inform your decisions about other things. Am I spending too much on this, too little on this? Am I not investing enough in learning and development? Do I have a high attrition that results in me having to hire new people all the time, and so I have an increased expenditure in onboarding, for example, or in talent acquisition, and I'm paying fees to recruiters to bring new talent because is there a hole in my boat, right? So essentially, those are some of the metrics that are very very important to look at. It's not just the operational metrics of attrition or headcount, or even the diversity metrics, which are all very important, but we need to understand that these are operational metrics. They are not. They tell you, for example, they tell you how much gas you have in your tank, but it doesn't tell you where you're going, right?
Yeah, I wrote down a takeaway at one point, your point about you don't have to know exactly where you're going, right? But you need to get going in a direction, and you need to be nimble and flexible and iterate on it so that people know that you are headed somewhere. So appreciated that. Definitely appreciate your time today. This is super informative. Any last words of wisdom that you would share with anyone embarking on adapting product mindset or productizing the full life cycle?
I would say that this starts with a change of mindset, with the change of mindset that I alluded to before, and it's that your employees are choosing you. The employees that stay are choosing you. You need to understand why they are choosing you, or why not. You need to, first of all, understand that they have a choice, and you need to help them make the best choice. And sometimes, for some employees, it might be to leave your organization. I mean, ideally, the choice is for the employee to stay for as long as they can. But ultimately, if you have employees who are stars and you don't have the room for them to grow within your organization, maybe you need to think about something else. How can you turn them into stars somewhere else that they can refer you as a company or as an employer, if you don't have room for them? So these are the kind of things that make a progressive mindset towards HR, and productizing HR is one of those things. Is just thinking differently and not taking your employees for granted.
Beautiful. Thank you